We're here till 11 o'clock, and we invite your phone calls at 1-888-396-1574 on our Cook Neon hotline. Let's go right back to the Cook Neon hotline. Cook Neon, they do digital, traditional signs. They even do banners and neon signs. You can check out their full range of services at cookneon.com. Bryan Barrett, the play-by-play voice for WGNS, joins us on the Cook Neon hotline as he had the Blackman-Siegel game tonight. Bryan, a very talented Blackman team, and I don't really like to root for one team over another in a situation like that, but you really hate to see a Siegel team like that fall as tough as they've played the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's in Rutherford County, we're kind of used to those county teams playing each other, and it just when it happens in the playoffs that it means the end of the road for somebody, and that happened tonight for Riverdale across town at Oakland, and it happened tonight for Siegel. But I tell you what, the Stars did put up a fight. It was 21-0. They battled back, got the score down, but every time, Siegel would have an answer, Blackman would have an answer, and it was really, the 21-0 score at the beginning that led to their margin of victory. Without those three early scores, it would have been one of those back-and-forth games. But, every time Siegel reared up and struck at him, well, Blackman had an answer, and Taylor Dowdy was the big answer tonight with 4 touchdowns on the evening. He had 266 yards on 36 carries. So he is very close. If he doesn't, and those are unofficial yards, he is very close to having 2,000 yards on the season. So pretty special kid right there.
And you called that one. I asked you for a prediction on this game about who would be a star, and you mentioned Taylor Dowdy in the pregame show. It's pretty safe to assume that the path to get to Cookeville, especially the path through Maryville next week's got to go on the shoulders of Taylor Dowdy, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, he's going to have a great game. I mean, he carried the mail tonight on 36 carries, so you got to expect him to have to do the same thing. And Miller Armstrong had a great game, had close to 100 yards rushing, had close to 100 yards passing. He was a little shy for both, really, on either end of that. But regardless, he had a great night. You're going to have a good game out of Miller Armstrong and out of Taylor Dowdy next week. For Blackman to beat the Maryville Rebels, who beat Cookeville tonight by a score a little larger than I thought that they would. But they must have been able to hold Vic Johnson down in yardage tonight.
Must have. Dennis Weaver, Josh Peterson talking to Bryan Barrett of WGNS on the Friday Night Thunder Scoreboard Show.
Bryan, I was talking about this with Coach Creasy a little bit ago, and I'll ask you too, because you know as much about Rutherford County football as anybody. But in Class 6A, 8 teams left, 5 of those teams from Middle Tennessee, and 3 of those teams from Rutherford County, and Oakland and Blackman and Smyrna. That kind of just goes to prove a little bit about just how good football has become in Middle Tennessee, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going in. There were 12 of the 16 teams going into tonight were from Middle Tennessee, and it just goes to show you that Middle Tennessee football is really good. And I was talking with Tom Krager of the D&J earlier about how many times have we had 3 teams in the quarterfinals, and the only exception would possibly be 2010 when we had some teams go east and west. That was the year that Smyrna went to Memphis and won and played Maryville in the state championship game, and Riverdale was the only team to go east under the Z plan that year. We may have had 3 quarterfinal teams that year, but outside of that, I don't think it's ever happened. And it kind of shows you when everybody thought after Blackman and Oakland both lost their first games this year, everybody was saying, man, it's going to be a down year in Rutherford County. Well, it just goes to show you that there's a lot of football played from week 1 to the second round of the playoffs.
There sure is indeed. I'm guessing next week the WGNS microphones will be at Ray Hughes Stadium.
We're going to be there for the county matchup between Oakland and Smyrna, and we'll have score updates on the Maryville and Blackman game. We'll be rooting on the Blackman Blaze from afar, and this is, I think, Dennis, it's either 23 out of 24 or I think 23 out of the last 24 years we've had a Rutherford County team in the semifinals in football. So it's going to happen this year because Oakland or Smyrna will be in the semis. So it's been another great year for high school football here, and looking forward to the next few weeks.
You like calling games the Friday after Thanksgiving, don't you?
It's become a tradition, really. It's no Black Friday shopping for me. It's usually a road trip to, the past few years, Maryville.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that you get a road trip to Cookeville in there before it's all said and done, okay?
That sounds good to me.
All right, buddy. I appreciate your time. We'll look forward to talking to you next week and on the final Friday Night Thunder of the season, okay?
Sounds good, Dennis. I appreciate it.
All righty. That is Bryan Barrett of WGNS.